Okay, I'm going to do a little tutorial on the very basics of how to edit video and then get into why we would edit video. Of course, the first thing you need to edit video is to import some video to work with. Right here it says import media to start. So you need to get the footage that you have either on your phone or some other camera and put it into a folder on your computer. I have this folder with 2 lines from Jess and then a piece of river footage, B-roll footage. I can grab a piece of that footage and drag it to the appropriate place. And this program is Adobe Premiere Pro. Many software programs will work in a similar way. Another way to go is under File, Import, navigate to the file I want, and import the footage. And there's a shortcut for that on the Macintosh. It's Command I. I'm importing. I'm finding the Jess River footage, which I'll use as B-roll at some point. I have a separate lesson on videos, how to use B-roll and why to use B-roll. I'll share that with you too. So once you have footage in place, you can see here it says drop media to create a sequence. A sequence is where you edit. It is a sequence of video clips. So I may know that Jess's first line is something I want first, and I'll drop it in place. There she is. And probably her second line is something I want second, and there that is. And so you can just go forward building your... Oh, I've done it wrong. I've put her first line in twice. So I'm going to select that clip and hit delete and find line 2 and put that in place second. So here's her first line and then her second line. And you'll notice we had 2 cameras on this production, which is a help in editing. It helps avoid jump cuts for one thing. So if I was happy with that, if she said all the right things in this clip and in the second clip, I might be done. But if she said some things at the beginning that I didn't want, this blue arrow, by the way, with the line is our playhead. So if at the beginning she said a few words I didn't want, I could just trim the in point and move it a little later. So she starts talking a little later than she did previously. Likewise, if her last word or two was something I didn't want, I could trim the end point, and now she ends a little earlier. Now, in that case, I would probably need to take my second clip and move it up against my first clip so we don't get that empty blank space in the middle. So if I didn't do that, you would see a black screen and then Jess. You can move your clips manually with your mouse, or at least in Premiere, there's a nice handy, I'm going to right click on the blank space, and I have the option to ripple delete, which will take any clip after this one, all the clips after this one, and move them. I should show you what I'm talking about. Sorry. I'm going to put another clip, the river clip, here. And now I'm going to ripple delete the empty space. And without selecting them, both clips have moved in. So that's a nice, convenient feature. Now, let's suppose in Jess's remarks, the words I wanted to get rid of were not at the very beginning or the very end. Maybe they're right in the middle of what she says. I'm going to give you another view here. That gives you a bit of a picture to go with the clips down in the timeline. The edit area is called the timeline. And then this audio shows waveforms for where she talks. And I'm going to make that bigger too. This is now a little easier to see. And we'll take a better look at it. So let's suppose right in the middle of her remarks here, she said, or something else we hated hearing, we wanted to get rid of from our edit. We can use a tool, the razor blade tool. The letter C on my keyboard brings it up, or I can click it. And wherever the blue line is, I can click, make my cut, and I know here she's starting to say and here she finishes saying so I'll click again, and now this piece is separate. I'll go back to my basic arrow tool called the selection tool, and I want to select out that piece I just cut. That's the piece where she says, So now I can hit delete in my edit and either ripple delete, or I could just select the piece and move it. And then you might think, well, aren't there going to be 10 seconds of, or actually 3, 4, 6 seconds of black before you even started your film? Yes, there would be. So I could select everything, move it. And then if you notice, because I made that cut, there might be a little bit of a jump cut where her body and head and mouth move a little funny to get from one thing to the next. And this is where B-roll is very handy. So I'm going to shorten this scene of them looking at the river, shorten it quite a bit. I know I won't use it here in time. I'll use it somewhere else in time. And I also won't use the audio from it. So what I need to do is disconnect the audio from the video. I can do that by locking the video. Now I cannot select the video, but I can select the audio and delete it. I'll unlock the video again and bring this piece that I'll use as B-roll over to where the cut happens. And now no one will see the cut. So as she speaks, we go to something she's doing, which is looking at the river, and she continues to speak. So these are all the hows of editing, but the whys of editing, maybe we want to cut things out, as we did with the something undesirable. We want to remove it. Maybe we want to add something in because it's more desirable to see this extra footage, like maybe the shot of looking at the river. We added in because that was compelling or prettier or evocative of a mood. We didn't have to, for example, have what Jess says at the beginning go immediately into what she says next. We could use that river footage to stretch the time a bit. So instead of just covering up the cut, what if the river footage took a while and it gave us more of a mood? So she speaks, maybe we play some music in here, or we let the wind sound effects play, and we have a little time to think about what she said before she speaks again. These are all edit techniques that you can choose based on the style you like. But we tend to cut out things that are undesirable in our edit, add in things that are more desirable in our edit. We shorten things, we lengthen things, and we combine pieces. These are all the basic goals of what we're doing when we're editing. Another example to think about, if Jess was telling us about the need for a low protein diet, it may be great to have her say that, but it might be even better if we also had a celebrity chef who was talking about his rare disease and why he needed a low protein diet. We could cut from Jess to the celebrity chef and back to Jess. So all of these things are editing our final film to be different than any of the pieces we shot in order to make the film. With documentary, you never quite know what you're going to get until you get it, but you can plan some of these things. You can know, for example, the topic of protein is going to come up. So can I seek out a chef to talk about that? Can I seek out a nutritionist to talk about that? This all goes into the planning of your production with your edit in mind. So I hope that's helpful. That's a bit of the how and why and the basics of editing. There's a lot more to it. You could start getting very complicated with many layers of video, many layers of audio. You would probably very likely start to add underneath once you get your dialogue and your narration set up to tell the story, you would probably start to add music tracks under here. You might add, in addition to your video, you might start to add graphics like lower thirds or subtitles, or maybe a medical animation to show where a procedure happens in the body. But that gets us through the very basics. I hope it was